This is a story of spiritual awakening, focusing on a man who escaped the trap of overthinking to find silence behind the forms and the presence beyond the replay. You'll see how he walked away recognizing his own living awareness, and you'll see how it could greatly improve the lives of everyone. After many years of practicing these teachings, I've found that teaching through stories is often more effective.
Mysterious traveler looked into a man's eyes and said, "You are not living life as you think. You are only watching the replay." The man laughed until the truth began to reveal itself. There was once a man who believed he was living his life directly. He walked down busy streets, felt the wind on his skin, tasted the salt of his meals. He was sure, this is me, alive in the moment. But one evening, an old traveler approached him. The traveler's eyes were quiet, as though they looked not just at the man, but through him. "You are not living life as you think," the traveler said. The man frowned. "What do you mean?" "I see, I touch, I feel. Of course I'm alive." The traveler shook his head gently. "No, every sensation you claim as now has already passed. When your hand touches something hot, the burn has already happened before you even notice. What you call experience is not the live event. It is the replay." The man laughed nervously, unsure, but those words settled into him like a seed. Days later, the man began to notice his thoughts more carefully. There was a constant voice in his head, a private radio station playing non-stop commentary. It judged, compared, worried, predicted. It told stories about who he was and who he wasn't, and he saw this voice wasn't describing reality, it was shaping it. When the voice was fearful, the world looked dangerous. When the voice was angry, the world seemed hostile. When the voice was sad, everything appeared heavy. He realized that life was not being lived directly. It was being filtered, colored, and replayed by this endless narration. One afternoon, while walking home, the man stumbled over a stone. Anger rose instantly. "This stone ruined my peace," he muttered. Then he remembered the traveler's words. He wondered, was it the stone? Or was it my commentary about the stone? He imagined another person walking the same road. Perhaps they would stumble, laugh, and continue. Perhaps another would step around it, unaffected. Perhaps another would use it as a seat to rest. The stone was the same. The stories were different, and he saw clearly, suffering does not come from events. It comes from the mind's commentary about events. The man began to question who he really was. He thought of his identity, his name, his history, his beliefs. He had always believed this was a solid self. But now he saw it differently. Every time he remembered the past, the memory shifted, as if the mind were an artist painting over the same canvas again and again. The story of who he was had never been fixed. It had always been a creative reconstruction, and he saw the strange truth. The self he defended so fiercely was only a story, stitched together from distorted echoes of memory. This realization shook him. If he was not his story, then who was he? In the stillness of night, the man began to sit quietly. He noticed something he had overlooked all his life, the gaps between thoughts. Tiny spaces of silence. At first they seemed like nothing, but soon he realized they were full, alive, peaceful, steady. Like the silence between musical notes that gives meaning to the melody, these gaps gave meaning to his life. And for the first time, he discovered a presence that did not depend on commentary, memory, or story. Excited, the man tried to hold on to this stillness. He reached for it, strained for it, tried to push thoughts aside. But the harder he tried, the faster his mind raced. Then he remembered. Even the effort to stop thinking was another thought. Even the seeker was part of the trap, so he let go. Instead of fighting his mind, he stepped aside. Like walking away from a conversation that no longer interested him, he simply stopped participating. And slowly, naturally, the mind began to quiet itself. The man placed his attention on his hands. He felt the subtle hum of aliveness in his palms. He felt it in his feet, his chest, his whole body. At first it seemed like he, the observer, was watching the body's energy. But as he stayed with it, the separation dissolved. The observer and the observed were not two. There was only one field of living awareness, boundless and still. As the days passed, the man's relationship with life changed. Events still came, good and bad, joyful and painful. But he no longer clung to every thought about them. He saw the stories for what they were, recordings, replays, echoes. He no longer lived in the replay. He lived in the gaps, in the silence, in the immediacy of presence. One day, the old traveler returned. The man bowed in gratitude. "You were right," he said. "I was only watching the replay." The traveler smiled. "And now?" The man breathed deeply, feeling the aliveness in his body, the stillness behind his thoughts. "Now," he whispered, "I am watching life itself." The traveler placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remember," he said, "the replay will always be there, but you need not mistake it for the real. The silence behind the story is your true home." And with that, the traveler walked away, leaving the man alone in the most beautiful company of all, his own living awareness. And so the story ends not with a conclusion, but with an opening, an invitation. To notice the replay, to notice the gaps, to notice the presence that has been here all along, quietly waiting beneath the commentary of the mind. This is not the replay. This is life itself. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment. I would love to hear from you.